Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Russ Jones.
And Brad Kennan.
We are wide open. How are you, my friend?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Really? Gosh,
Feeling good
man.
tonight. It's already 90 in the Mountain State. If you can believe that.
It was a little warm down here. It was warm up in Ohio today too. So, and the allergies, you can hear the allergies in my head are making me sniffle, and it stinks because I've never had allergies in my entire life until I got older, and now all of a sudden I have allergies.
Dang.
So
hey, I had a pretty cool Bigfoot thing happen this week.
Okay.
So I was, I was looking at reports, and I saw a report. There's this one area that I'd picked out just for my own beliefs, and I probably had 10 cameras in this very remote place where I had to drive through all these creeks to get to it. You know, there's nobody there. I've never seen a person. There's nobody on my cameras. And about 50 years ago, this guy had a sighting when he was with his father, and they were coon hunting. And so I was interested in it because it was on the other side of the mountain from where I've been placing all these cameras. And I thought, I'm just going to drive over there and look. And so, he told me where it was. You kind of get down the Hatfield-McCoy Trail area out of Charleston, just south.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was going back in there, and I go up this gravel road, and it's like up this hollow. You go a half mile, and there's like, it's like not a great place. And it seems like the kind of place where, you would see, if I park, somebody's going to say something. All the neighbors are probably watching it. It's a little sketchy. So I just go to the end of it and I turn around. Well, then that was Thursday. Yesterday I'm seeing patients, and I see this mother and daughter, and the daughter says, I know where there's a recent Bigfoot sighting, but, I don't want anybody shooting it, but I'll tell you. And I said, okay. And she said, we're from Lincoln County, which is just south of Charleston. I was like, yeah, actually I was out there last Thursday. I was off Brunland Road. And she's like, that's where this is. And I said, well,
Were you the Bigfoot
road? And she's like, that's exactly where it was.
Okay.
And so when I got to the end of that road, and there was this home that sat there across the creek, apparently that gentleman had been hearing these knocking sounds, and he hears it a lot over the years, but recently it had been a lot more. He just didn't know what it was. Sure. And he was telling this girl that he said, I kept hearing it. And it's finally one night I wasn't doing anything. I thought, I'm just going to walk up here. It was in the evening and just see what it's making the sound. And he walked up this gas well road, and he walks around a curve, and standing there is a Bigfoot, really? About 60 feet from him, about the same height as him. They both looked at each other for, several seconds, and then it turned and walked up the mountainside. So it was interesting, because it's right in one of the places I'm at all the time. I was over there because there was a historical report, and that lady told me that several of the neighbors had seen Bigfoot in that area, even some juveniles, or as Matt Moneymaker would say, seen some Bigfoots.
Okay.
So that was kind of exciting.
That was exciting because you were right there, but yet you missed them.
Yeah. But I'm in there a lot. I've heard them, I think, a couple times when I've been in there during the day, but I mean, just this one area, it's a lot of cliffs. There's no one back in there. It's probably maybe 80 square miles before it just crosses like a little gravel road or a park road, right. Of remote wilderness. So, but it was in that same park about 9 miles from there. You remember I was in there one day, and I was like looking around all these mountains. I was like, how the freak am I supposed to get close to one of these animals? I mean, this is so vast in here.
Right.
And, so I started doing other stuff, trying to attract a witness that was close, that I could just skip all the me trying to find stuff and just go to where they come for some reason. But maybe I lucked onto something here.
Maybe you did.
Yeah.
So over the weekend, the Ohio expedition was held here in Ohio.
Yeah.
About 35 minutes from me. I cheated greatly. Meaning I took my drone out, and when other people would walk down the path to go out in the woods, I simply put my drone in the air and flew past them.
Did that seem fair?
No, it did not, but I don't care because I didn't really walk, and it was awesome. and I could see a lot. I found lots of deer, lots of things, heavy cover. So you can't really see back into the woods, which I don't think, you could see anyway. It doesn't matter. But you can cover great swaths of land very quickly. There were some different areas we stopped at, go to 4 or 5 different areas instead of concentrating on one area. You can easily go to 4 or 5 different areas, and then you can kind of look around, see if you see stuff, especially if you get into marsh areas and things like that. That way, like I said, it seems like a little bit of cheating, but you can cover quite a bit more area rather than just walking in and, just taking your therm and kind of therming around all the time. So
seems like the BFRO expeditions are going to evolve, because so many of the members, the researchers are, having these thermal drones that, I mean, why send somebody 2 miles back into some remote area when you can just launch drones from different places to see if you see anything that's suspect?
Right. Yep. I agree with you. So we will see. Like I said, I didn't see anything besides a bunch of deer, bedded down, walking, standing, eating. I saw some small raccoons, even in one marshy area. Either raccoons or maybe a beaver or something like that. But other than that, we didn't see. We saw some fishermen. You go out, a half a mile around a bend on a large creek or lake. There's guys at the boat ramp putting boats in at 9 o'clock at night. You can watch them, or guys catfishing or whatever, and you can see them pretty easy. So it was, it's pretty interesting. So you're hoping to catch something out in the open, or at least on that transition between field, grass field, cornfield, bean field, and the woods. So, all right.
Speaking of BFRO expeditions,
we have 2 guests, Randy and Doreen, that were actually on a recent BFRO expedition in Wisconsin, I do believe, Minnesota, because they're living in Wisconsin. But I think they went on the Minnesota expedition. In fact, at the Ohio expedition, we had some people that were at that expedition, but me, I'm very self-centered and I don't pay attention to other people. So when they said their names and what they were doing, I didn't care. So anyway, that's just me.
You have your group of friends.
I have my group of friends, and it is what it is, and that's what I concentrate on. So Randy and Doreen, great to have you on the show tonight. You have been on some expeditions. I do believe you said the Minnesota expedition, correct?
Yes,
that's correct. Yeah, we're happy to be here. Excited to be here.
Yep. So you've been on a couple expeditions, but you've had some other stuff happen, which we'll get into that also. You being a tech person your whole entire life, your wife was in the accounting trades. So let's just start off with, hopefully, you're of sound mind and body. You're just going to get out there. Because a lot of people wonder about us,
Yeah.
We're going to have a show on that at some point about, there's a large podcaster that makes comments about Bigfooters, and we're going to just prove them wrong. Not that we don't like the man. I listen to him constantly, but we're going to have a whole show talking about this individual and his beliefs that Bigfooters are just crazy, which we are not. So you went on an expedition. Have you had anything happen on your expeditions that you've gone on to?
Well, last year in 2023, I think the most notable one was the Wisconsin BFRO expedition. And at that expedition, which was in the fall, we actually had a group of 4 people, Doreen and I, and 2 other guys. We decided to go down into this remote area, central Wisconsin, and we had different teams broken up. We were on a team of 4, and we were walking. We drove down, first of all, a fire lane trail, parked, and we had walked back about maybe half of a mile and came to this little gate, went through the gate, and there was a sort of a dam-like structure with a pond on either side. So the moon was bright. It was a partly cloudy night, and the moon was actually full moon.
I think it was full.
And so we felt like we were exposed in the open. I mean, Bigfoot can see us. Everybody can see us. We could see everything, like almost like daylight. So we looked over across this dam between the two ponds, which is basically heading south. There was a huge grove of old forest pines, and the trail actually extended from the dam into the pines. And so we thought that we can just go into the darkness of the trail within the pines, and we'll set up our chairs and we'll sit there and watch each other's backs. So we proceeded to do that. Walking up to that point, Doreen, I believe you and another guy that was with us saw some big red eyes in the tree line as
Probably
we were
about
walking
9 feet up.
9 feet high approximately. And so that was our first data point, and we went right into the woods. We were probably on the trail, I would say maybe 20 yards into what we would call the dark part. So we felt like we were in the dark. We could have an opportunity to see things. Nothing could, see us because of the moonlight. We sat there for about 45 minutes, and we started seeing light green eyes. First, we thought it was just, our imagination. We were seeing things. Maybe it was moonlight reflecting off of potentially leaves in a light breeze, and maybe reflecting off moonlight, and that was the sparkles. But later on, we determined it was not, because we looked at some areas where the moonlight wasn't hitting, and we could still see some eyes. One of the guys we were with started playing Indian drums on a small boombox, Indian chanting with the drums. And he actually started to cook bacon in a little sterno stove, cooking bacon. So we had the smell of bacon aroma in the air. And I heard a kind of a plucking. First, I thought it was a plucking sound or a tick-tock sound. And as soon as I looked up, there was a white pine about 3 foot diameter to the right side of the trail as I was facing the trail south. So it would have been like my 1 o'clock. And 2 green twinkling eyes about 9 feet off the ground came out from around the tree and looked at me, and I just froze and I felt tingly up and down my spine, and I felt like that's a direct connection with those lights. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a Bigfoot, but it's some lights there 9 feet off the ground that came around like a pair of eyes and was looking directly at me. At that point, I was going to tell everybody, look at my 1 o'clock. And right when I was going to say something, the eyes actually blinked. So I could see them go blink like this. And then I saw the head turn, and I saw the eye movement, and it was kind of a crystalline green, glowing. The eyes were probably 1.5 inches, maybe about 1.5 inches diameter, 8 inches, 9 inches apart, maybe a little bit bigger than that. And they actually blinked. And when they blinked, I thought, there's another data point, which led me to believe that it's probably eye glow of some sort. I mean, there wasn't any eye shine unless it was the moon on something, but what would have that big of an eye set that high up in a tree? Or it wouldn't be a raccoon, I don't think, or a bear that high looking around. The eyes just looked almost, I hesitate to say this, but they almost looked paranormal. And the audio that I had sent you is the exact sound. You can hear the drums in the background, and then you'll hear the clicking sound like tick-tock. And that's what actually alerted me to look up towards that sound. So I don't know if Brad, or Russ, you can play that.
Yeah, let me find that. Well, give me a second here. I got up.
While Brad's looking for it, let me ask you a couple questions. So, first of all, what made you feel like that the eyes were paranormal, so to speak?
Because they looked almost unreal.
Mm-hmm.
The feeling that I had, not a feeling of dread, but a feeling of kind of direct connection to them. And clarity and they almost twinkled. I mean, most of it was like a green eye, but you could see around the pupil part of it, which was glowing. You could see kind of as it looked around, you could kind of see variations in the brightness of the green.
And you said like they emanated their own light.
It was like they emanated their own light. Like when it looked directly at me, it would actually get brighter. When it looked away, it was dimmer. And it almost seemed like not really fake, but it almost seemed like something that was so real. And maybe it's just because I'm telling myself I need irrefutable data to really believe in Bigfoot or a being like that. But this definitely is irrefutable data, and so that made me have the feeling that it was more just so special. Maybe paranormal is not the right word, but
okay. I mean, I know you worked on supercomputers, and Doreen was a CPA, so I hesitate to ask this question because it may not be in your venue or your forte, but so when you first saw eyes, you saw red colored eyes. Then later, they were a greenish colored eyes. So what do you attribute, different colored eyes to? I mean, I know people have probably heard me say in the past that some of the Indians I talked to believe that the color of the eyes are related to the age of the Bigfoot. Whether that's true or not true, I have no idea, but that's just what they say. Do you have any opinion on that?
I couldn't even really say. Just I know sometimes we see red and sometimes we see green
or amber. I felt like the green color of the eyes was more of a benevolent, more of a welcoming, a curiosity feeling I had. So I felt like it was, after the initial tingling and kind of the shock of getting over it, seeing that so clearly, I almost felt like I was getting a feeling of relaxation from it. That, there's nothing here. We're just curious.
Right.
I was thinking ahead of that point in time, it would be nice to somehow have an interaction for the team.
Right.
Almost like they were watching us, like we were watching them.
Right. Like a curiosity feeling. Yeah.
Okay. I have your audio here that I can play real quick. And so what is this audio?
This is the audio excerpt that I took from hours long that night.
You'll hear the drums that the other person is
background.
playing on a boom, but you'll hear this tick-tock sound. That
kind of a click sound, and that's what made me look up. Did you hear it?
I think I kind of heard. Can we hear that one more time, Brad? No, I couldn't really hear it, but there's a lot going on there. Yeah, I saw you raise your hand there right when that happens.
I hear the drum. I hear the drums beating, but I mean, to me, it's a non-conclusive sound. I don't know.
You can hear it better with headphones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it might be something interesting to send to Monongahela that reviews the audio. I know that there is some clicking sounds that people commonly hear when a Bigfoot is coming in. I don't know whether it's sorry, I'm not waving at everybody. I've got some gnat flying around here in my eyes, so disregard that.
Okay.
You probably heard that too, haven't you, Brad? Like some kind of
I've heard it said, they think it's it's either it's a mouth pop or something like that,
Yeah, I haven't
teeth clacking.
I can't do it, but to me it almost sounds like a mouth pop, like a kind of a loud punk. It's hard to explain.
I'm gonna play it one more time. You said it's about 3 seconds in.
Hey, watch him, Brad. Like he'll raise his hand right after he hears it.
Okay. I mean, I hear something, but it's in the background, so it's kind of tough. You know, it would be better to have
where
one
it's
on
like a little bit of
like
a
that
mouth
kind
pop.
to pull it out. So I mean, but also when you're there, a lot of times pictures, video, and audio doesn't do it justice from live action, obviously. Okay, so that happened in 2023. You just got back from your expedition recently. Did you have anything happen there? Anything of note?
We had an expedition in Minnesota with the BFRO a couple of weeks ago, and we had a lot of activity, I would say.
Okay.
One night was extreme activity. I like to go by data and put data together and not draw any conclusions. I like to,
I agree with that.
But the things that we did see were eye shine or eye glow, and there's actually sets of eyes that walked down from a ridge, probably 100 yards away from us. So we saw a hill with a high pine tree line, and at first I thought it was stars. And in fact, I've been working through the audio today to put a report together to send off a pretty good report from that night with photographs that one of our people took of the eyes. Great photographs, huge eyes, and also the audio piece of it. And so we were actually walking down a forest road, and for some reason I kind of fell behind, and the rest of the group was walking in the dark ahead of us. And of course we don't use any lights, and this was probably 10 o'clock or so at night. And we were walking, we went about 3/4, maybe a mile, almost a mile that night before we turned on and went back to where we parked. And people were walking in front of me, and I felt like there's something I should stop for. And on my audio, I can be heard saying that we're in a different area. Things feel really different here. And somebody else said, yeah, okay, well, it's good to know.
And the frogs quit singing.
The frogs quit making noise, and everyone walked ahead of me, and I thought I should catch up, but I turned and looked to my left, kind of to our back and left towards that hill, and I saw what I thought looked like lanterns, almost like people on the hillside had lanterns, the old oil lamps with a flame, like an amber color, and they were really bright. And I thought, this is really something. I wonder if there's a trail there. And I had Onyx, the hunt application. I went on my phone, looked at that. There's no trails there. There's no campgrounds in that area, which we kind of debunked later on. And so they turned out to be, everybody came back to where I was standing. I called everybody back, and we had over 11 minutes of eye glow.
Everybody in the group saw it.
Everybody in the group saw it, including our leader. We got photographs of it. We've got audio recordings of us talking about what we've seen with the eyes. I mean, these eyes look like they were 2-inch diameter and 10 inches apart. And I thought they were lights, and then it looked like pairs were showing up, like a whole group of them. And then the one with the big eyes stood up, and it was like, wow, that stood up like another 6 feet higher, maybe. And then there was a set of eyes 20 yards to the right of it. Another set of eyes opened up 50 feet or so, 60 feet to the left of it. And
they were all different heights.
And they all started to walk towards us. And so you can see all these different sets of eyes like this, kind of in a walking fashion. And they were coming from the hill side.
Did anybody,
Go ahead.
So in our groups, I just went to the Ohio expedition, and generally everybody in the group either has night vision or thermal of some sort. In the group we had several thermals. Did you guys have thermal or anything like that in your group with you?
Doreen actually had a new thermal, but the battery went dead, which was kind of odd. And I had Gen 3 military night vision, so I turned that. And there was some tag alder brush next to the trail that we were on, and I couldn't get it through the tag alder towards
Okay.
the eye. It kind of blurted everything out, the close range of it. With a night
Okay.
vision, it's a green phosphor color, not the white like the newer ones. But and then after I had it on for a while, it all started getting jumbled up. It started getting like the old max headroom Z. I mean, it went
like
crazy,
staticky.
and I had to shut it off. I turned it back on, it still wouldn't work.
Okay.
So we have the audio recording, and our leader actually got some really good photographs
Of the eyes.
Okay.
with a night shot camera.
And Randy's scope worked later.
Yeah. So we actually in the recording that I went through today, and I pulled out the snippet, and I'm going to embed it into the report I'm sending to the BFRO leader. In that report, we saw the eyes for almost 12 minutes. It was that long, and all the multiple sets and super bright coming towards us.
That would have been a time like we were talking earlier. I've got a thermal drone that I use now to take out on the expeditions, and it's kind of like cheating. That's the perfect time when you'd love to be able to get that drone in the air and fly up and take a look at them. So because you can see a long way, you can get max height on these right now. It's 400 feet, especially in uncontrolled airspace, without permits and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
but that's what I can get up and
experience.
I wonder, Brad, if when we start using the drones more, whether it's going to proliferate the paranormal or supernatural claims, because people are going to be, for sure there's something right there. Somebody like you is going to launch a drone. You're going to say there's nothing right there. And so then they're going to say, well, there was definitely something there. So they, they went through a portal, or they time warped, or they did something, I wonder about that.
Maybe my drone will get sucked into the portal also, and I'll get the camera feed from a UFO.
There you go.
That would be some footage.
Yeah.
Little gray aliens, I'll just flip off the thermal and just go 12 megapixel and just start taking pictures.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. So that sounds very interesting. Like I said, I was on the BFRO expedition over the weekend. I went 2 nights. Supposedly the night that I didn't go, they had activity. But when I was there, one night we were in a park, and I thought it was a pretty good spot. And there was seemed like there was nothing there. Just not a raccoon, not a possum. We didn't see a deer. There was just nothing. And then we went out another night. I found tons of deer. People went back in the woods with their chairs and their thermals and their night vision and went back in the woods. And I literally threw a drone in the air, and I flew past them by over 2,000 feet and simply did a giant arc all the way around the entire spot. So it was about a mile diameter that I flew looking, and you find all kinds of stuff, and you stop and you look, and you get deer and like I said, small animals and stuff. But I didn't see anything walking on 2 legs that I couldn't identify. So, but yeah, it'd be interesting to get out more and see what we can do. So anyway, so besides the BFRO expeditions having some stuff, you sent us some pictures of things that are interesting. I will say that. So I'm just going to throw it out there right from the beginning. I am not a paranormal guy. I don't really believe in paranormal. Aliens, yeah, sure. I'm sure they're there. Paranormal orbs and things like that, you need to convince me. So are you ready to convince me?
Okay, let's go to
all right. So
yep.
All right, which one are we going to look at first here? Let me.
That's fine.
We can cover that one.
Okay, let me see here. I know you're talking about this one. You're talking about this with the.
Yeah. Let's do this one.
So here are you took this picture. So did you just randomly take a picture, or did you say, I see 3 things in the air and I'm going to take a picture of them?
Actually, Doreen had a new Sony digital camera at that Christmas at my mom and dad's place.
Okay.
So my mom wanted me to take a picture of her Christmas tree and the presents before everybody kind of went in there and filled up the room. And so
Right.
I was taking some photographs, and every time I took a photograph, I would look at the digital display, and there was these like white dots that were messing up the photo. And so I actually went around the room and I turned some lights off and some on to try to get it clear. And I ended up taking about maybe 5 to 7 photographs before I
Okay.
saved the best one that had the least garbage aberration.
Right.
So, and this happened to be the one that I saved. And we went home. My mom and dad aren't really tech savvy, and so we printed out a hard copy 8x10 for them, and then brought it to them 2 or 3 weeks later.
Sure.
As we were printing out the 8x10 at our home on our computer, I noticed the 3 spots on there, whatever they were, and I zeroed in on them, and we couldn't believe there was a pretty clearly defined face in at least 2 of them. And to me it looked like the one on the top has almost like a skull face in it. You can see teeth, eyes, kind of a skull nose shape in it. And the one on the right bottom almost looks like a happy, like the Michelin man with a round, or the Pillsbury Doughman face, maybe is another analogy. And the third one on the bottom left, I'm not sure what that is, but the other 2 are pretty clear images. And so I started looking online at orbs. And of course you get orbs with like snowflake designs and different just white colors and things that are swooping around. But nothing that I could find matched the clarity of faces. And it almost looked like around the edge of these, if you really pick it up on a good computer, drill into it, maybe enhance the image around the edge, almost looks like it appears to be something stretching through and stretching the fabric or energy around the edge of each of those orbs.
So was the orbs always in the same position of the picture when you were taking them?
Yes.
Well, on this one, but your other pictures, they were all over the place.
They were all over the place on other photos that I had deleted that night.
So could you see them with the naked eye?
No.
So they weren't always on the right side of the screen?
No. The photos that I had taken previous to that, when I looked at the digital image, there was other orbs that were in different parts of that room. And so a lot of them I noticed were up around the ceiling and the dark ceiling area. And I thought, well, that doesn't look really good. So I delete the photo and I try another photo. And then I took 2 or 3 photos, and this was the one that had the least of the smudges in it, or the later on, I guess we'd call them orbs.
So when you think that you're seeing a face inside the presence of the orb, do you think that there's a chance that it's pareidolia and that it appears that way?
I thought of that, and I guess there still is that chance. Although, again, if you really zero in, it seems to me after looking at them that there's a pretty clear face in those.
Not to be a negative Nancy, but it looks like to me it's a glare off of the lens, possibly. Like I said, I'm not an orb guy. I don't really believe in them. And I'm going to find because to me, it looks like it's something shining on this wood right here on the back. So is something shining, or I would think even something on the lens possibly. But if they're going to different spots, it's, then obviously it's not on the same spot on the lens. So that takes that into account. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't either.
But you couldn't see him but you couldn't see him with your naked eye.
No.
I remember one time reading something similar to what Brad said, was that many of the orbs were actually the reflection of something shiny that was, causing you to be able to see the LED reflect off the LED lights that are flashing or something. I don't know, because it's not what I do. It's not my deal.
Right. Okay. So that is what
it's interesting.
It's interesting. So we're going to go to your next picture. So in your notes, on September of 1996, you saw a giant Thunderbird fly over the top of your house.
A pair of them.
Do what?
A pair of them.
A pair of them. Okay.
Yeah, there was two of
So
them.
these are giant Thunderbirds, which I have a friend that swears he saw one when he was about 18 years old, driving down a road, and literally he said this thing flew down and it was as wide as the road, and it flew above the car and took off.
What state was that in, Brad?
My friend saw his.
Yeah.
I think it was in Ohio, maybe, or Indiana. He lived up north. So, but you know, you live in the wilds of Wisconsin, which it is very desolate up there, especially you get north towards Michigan, you know, the UP up there and things like that. There's not a whole lot going on. I could possibly see a small group of giant birds living somewhere that we don't know. So tell us about it. So were you just outside and you're just like, holy crap, what's that?
You don't want to get pooped on by it.
Yeah,
Right.
This was actually on a Saturday morning.
Okay.
Our kids were downstairs. They weren't quite awake yet. And we live in a bi-level house. So our living room is elevated above the lawn and it faces the west towards the lake. And it was on a Saturday morning. We'd gotten up, we got our coffee, and we looked to the west over top of the lake, and coming towards us, there's something big and black. And I looked at it and I walked over to the window on the west, looked out the window, and you could see these two birds they were flapping, their wings were moving, but they weren't, it was almost like it was effortless. I mean, they weren't really like flapping. It was just almost like a undulation movement for the wings. And they were huge. And I told Doreen that they're coming towards the house. And as they got over closer, it was really hard to believe how large they were, because they looked like they were, you know, had a 25-foot wingspan, and it looked like the wing leading edge to the back of the wing was at least 6 feet in front to back. And the thing that struck us the most was that the head was black with a pointed beak, kind of angular, short neck with a head, and the tail was essentially a fan out of tail feathers. And at the end of the wings were huge feathers sticking out on the ends. So those were the most notable features.
Like that picture.
Like the photo. So what we did is we ran through the house to the east side. We opened up our sliding deck doors. We went out on the deck, and right over the house, this pair of birds that looked exactly like this flew over our house. They went to the east, maybe 1/8 of a mile. They made a large circle, came back and flew over our house and flew off to the west. And
They were fairly low.
They were fairly low, and we looked out the west window again, and we saw them going to the west into the.
Because they looked down at us, and we kind of joked with each other and said, we made eye contact.
Yeah, I mean, these things were huge, and I mean, they made this. Looking at them, we had a feeling of awe, tingling. And there's a number of things that have happened.
The first question I have.
Yep.
First question I have is: do you live by any military complexes?
No.
Okay.
No.
The picture that you
secret
shared
laboratories.
Well, it wouldn't be a secret lab then.
Well, right. If you know it's there, it's not a secret lab, right?
That's right.
But no, I have. This is one that I do kind of get behind a little bit. It's tough because there are people that do see them. There are reports. You know, like I said, I had a friend of mine that had he's like, I swear, man, it was wide as the freaking road. It was, what the road's 25 feet wide. And he said, I was in the car and we were looking at it, and it was literally as wide as the road above the car. You know, it was flying probably 35 mile an hour, or you know, it flew down, and he's, you know, so, I mean, if you've seen one, he's seen one. I believe in Bigfoot. So, you know, okay. You got pretty lucky. That would be pretty interesting to see something large, you know, flying over your house.
So the picture that we saw, though, this birds.
We have one here. This.
Listen, Brad, you hear me? I was curious. That picture that they showed us, is that supposed to be some dinosaur or some some bird that did exist at some point in history.
That's something on there. Yeah.
Yeah,
that bird
we-
did
it was
exist.
actually- Yeah.
Isn't that bird like in like the Natural History Museum or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's like a remake or a model of a supposed Thunderbird.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was an Indian name, but there was no one knows right offhand what they're calling that large bird.
And to me, the distinction there was that all the shows that we watched on YouTube and what we could find out information online, most of the Thunderbirds were referenced to like large vultures or that type of bird. You know,
Okay.
looking at a large bird like this, a cryptid, whatever you want to call it, they didn't look like this. And this is exactly what we saw until we saw this TV show. And we didn't record it, but I grabbed my iPhone and took a photograph of on the TV because we didn't know how to, we thought this is exactly what we seen. And it's like we relived the whole situation over again by looking at this. And the thing that I recall is, why didn't we grab our camera or our iPhone and would have had time to snap some photographs? And there's like a number of situations as experienced by myself anyway, I get the feeling that of numbness, like you're almost frozen or you're just in awe and you don't think about grabbing a camera. And I think going forward, that's one of my areas of discipline or improvement, is to be more, tech savvy and have a camera ready for these things.
For reference, the largest bird currently is the California condor with a 9.5 foot diameter or wingspan. Not diameter. Yeah. A 9.5 foot wingspan.
Is that
So
9.5 feet on each side?
No, that's
Total
wingspan.
from wingtip to wingtip.
Yeah, because otherwise that'd be 18 feet plus,
Yeah, I know,
plus
that's
body. So that, you're getting to that 25 foot range. So, that could easily be mistaken, I would believe.
Yeah.
So now this is the one that I just have to ask. September of 2018. Shadow of moving alien entity projected by motion lights out into the lawn, standing outside of patio walkout doors.
Yep.
So, what image should I reference for that?
Go back to that one right there. The one right there.
So this is for reference. So this isn't a picture of an alien anywhere, right? I'm not seeing an alien somewhere, right?
No.
What a beautiful place.
Oh, thank you.
It's very
And if
nice.
you
Yes.
If you look at the dormer, the dormer side of the house, that's actually our bedroom in the loft on the left
Okay.
of the photo. And so there's a set of windows along the side there, and our bed is just right inside of that, facing to the north. That window faces west. So along the side of the house, as you're coming down into the lawn, you can see with the patio walkout on the lower level, there's on the corner, there's a set of sliding doors right there. Yep. To the right there. And then just to the right of that will be a set of motion detector lights. So if you zoom in, you'll see
Right
where all
there.
the motion
Right there, right here.
Yep.
Down.
Right
No,
here.
that's where they are.
No, that's not the ones. They're down right there.
Oh.
Those are the ones that turn on automatically.
Okay.
And so what happened about 2:00 in the morning is I woke up in the bed and I noticed that when I sat up in bed, I saw that the lights were on down there. And
what time of year was this? September. Okay.
this was
Okay. September.
late summer, early fall.
Okay.
And so the lawn was beautiful. I mean, you had just mowed the lawn the day before, and it looked like a golf course. It was actually shorter than this, really clean, good looking. And what I noticed was the light was on, so I thought there must be maybe a deer, could be a mouse or a leaf if the wind was blowing, but the wind wasn't blowing. So something must have set it off. And so I was looking out the window, sitting up in bed, looking out that window in the dormer, down along the edge of the house, and the light went off, and I thought, well, I'm going to lay back down and go to sleep. So I was just ready to start laying down again, and the light went on again, and I kind of looked down there, and I thought, well, I'm going to walk down there. So I went down from the loft to the first floor, went down a set of stairs to the lower level, over to the inside of the doors there, the sliding doors. And I turned on the other set of lights, which is the ones you first pointed out in the middle of the deck, and looked around from the inside, looking around on the outside. I could see nothing. There was no wind. There was no breeze. I didn't see deer or anything like that. And so I stood there long enough where the light went out, because it's timed. It's on for maybe 3 minutes and then it goes out. And so it went off and I walked all the way upstairs. I sat down on the edge of the bed, looking out the west window there again in the dormer, and I was going to lay down and the light went on again. So this time I thought, well, maybe there's something wrong with the light. Maybe it's, to the end of its life and it's cycling on. It has a cyclic, on off, and it's defective, and we may need to order a new one from Amazon, is what I was thinking. But I walked downstairs, and this time I brought my 9mm pistol with me and a large flashlight. And I actually went out the sliding doors, walked out on the patio, and I could see nothing. I took the flashlight, shined it around in the yard down towards the lake, because the lake is kind of where we're standing taking this photograph here. Could see nothing. And so I went back inside. I locked the doors, went back upstairs. The light was off, and I was going to lay down again. The light went on again. And so this time I thought, there's something really strange going on. And so maybe I do need to order a light. And I was thinking that every time I go down, I can't see anything. And so I actually brought my face up really close and touched the glass. And I looked down along the edge of the house, along that edge, looking down into the lawn. And those two motion lights that were on, they come out an angular direction. And there was a shadow projected from about the area in front of the doors into the grass. And it looked like about a 4 to 5 foot high, possibly, being, the shadow of a being projected into the grass. It had a fairly large head, and it had a fairly skinny body. And I could see two arms that were kind of in the air, and they were kind of going like this, like articulating, kind of waving in the air. And I just had, chills ran up and down my spine. And I thought, that looks like a shadow of an alien. And so this time I told Doreen, you got to get up, you go to the front door. I'm going out the sliding doors. And as I go out, I'm going to latch the latch, and I'm locking myself outside. I'm not coming in that door again. I'm going to lock it. So I had my pistol, I had my large flashlight. I ran out onto the patio. The door was locked, and I could hear her kind of open up the door on the opposite side of the dormer, which is our main porch and main entry over there. And I was looking around the yard, and I could see nothing. But our dogs, we have a dog kennel, and outside dogs on the other side of the house next to our big shop. And they were yipping and yapping. And so I proceeded to walk around the house. And Doreen opened up the door and said, "You going to come in now?" And I go, "Nope, shut the door. Don't let me in that door unless I tell you to, unless I'm right up there." So she said, "Okay." And she shut the door. And I walked over towards the dogs, and they were yipping, and they were 3 of them, and they're kind of walking around each other. Then they would stop, and they would look up straight up in the air. And then they would yip and yap a little bit again, like they were nervous. They would run around each other, run around their house, and they'd all stop together and look straight up in the air again. So what I did is I went up to one of our big doors on our outside shed, our garage, and I opened it up. And so the automatic door is opening, and the dogs are still really agitated, and they're looking up in the sky. I couldn't see anything with a flashlight in the sky or anything like that. I have a single shot 12 gauge shotgun in the corner of the shop around the door. And so I put the pistol in my pocket. I grabbed the shotgun. I put in a 12 gauge round. I walked around to the left side of the shop. So I would be between the house and the shop, and the dog kennel was just behind that. And I shot one shot into the air. Boom, the flames, was all the flames, of course, shooting a 12 gauge in the middle of the night. I shot that round off, and I totally felt different. The dogs relaxed. I felt like things were relaxed. I turned off the garage lights. I shut the door, put the shotgun back in the corner, shut the door. Stood there for a while. It was totally quiet. I walked up to the porch. Doreen let me in. We locked the door behind us. I went back downstairs. Instead of just latching the sliding doors by the lake, I actually pushed the deadbolt lock on it. In addition, the outside light was off. The motion detector light was off. Went upstairs, sat on the edge of the bed, looked out the window along the edge. The light was off. I sat there for quite a while. We were talking about what happened, wondering what it could be, and the light stayed off. We went to bed and woke up on the next morning. It was a sunny day, and everything was good the rest of the night. But the thing that was really profound for me was seeing the shadow with the being projected into the grass of something standing there, and it was a fairly clear shadow because of the shortcut grass.
So where would it had to have been standing?
It would have had to have been standing.
If this, if that's sorry, crap.
Yeah, there we go.
So here's your light.
Theodore's.
So this light is projecting.
Correct.
So it would have had to been, it couldn't have been too close because otherwise it wouldn't have a shadow.
Correct. That's right.
So did you think about how, was it like your typical gray alien, kind of big head, short neck, squat body, kind of being projected out? It could have been that, or maybe an intruder of some sort, a neighborhood kid that's trying to toilet paper your house, or, see what you got, something like that. Or your house is a nice house, so I'd assume you probably kind of live kind of out by yourself, maybe, is what I'm kind of thinking.
Yeah, we live in a forest and we're at the end of two dead end roads. So there's really no else around at all. And low no wake lake with no other permanent people. There's a couple of cottages from us, but that's it. And it's not a weekend. It wasn't a weekend, so there wasn't other people around at all. But I would say that it would have had to been standing where that corner post is there.
Here.
Yep. And they're at quite an angle next to the house. So I think it would have been standing between that and the doorway.
So between somewhere in here.
Somewhere in there, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was being projected out this way.
Correct. Because I could see the projection from the post. I could see the shadow from that corner post.
Okay.
The square.
So you could see this post going out here,
correct,
and you could see it standing here. So
exactly,
it was on this side. And what window were you looking out of?
Up above there, off the dorm.
Right here, or this dormer over here?
Yeah, right there.
Okay.
Right
so
there.
You're looking out towards this way,
with my face
down towards this way, and you saw it standing, the shadow in this area right here.
Right. It was kind of like desperation. If I can't go downstairs and go out there and see anything, can I actually see anything from that window? But I had my face flat up against the glass to look down along. So that's when I saw that.
And you tried this. So it was there at one point and then it was gone.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So it could not have been mistaken for a hanging, pinata from the birthday earlier in the day or something like that.
We don't have anything hanging in there.
No, I was thinking about like a bear cub that was, had went up on two legs that, was kind of awkwardly moving its arms or something. I don't know. I was trying to think of what else it could be.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but I wouldn't think so because they're so used to. They're not afraid. If we go outside, they don't leave.
And the other thing with the bear cub, they got a fairly, they're pretty chubby.
Yeah, they're chubby.
And the thing that struck me here was the head was large and bulbous, and the body was almost like a stick figure.
Okay.
Not actually like a stick, but maybe, I don't know, maybe 8 inches, 10 inches. But it was, 4 or 5 feet high and large head. And then I could see really long, gangly arms and hands moving and kind of articulating back, waving back and forth, which to me was the kind of the more unsettling part of it. It just seemed alienish.
Okay.
Right.
I would describe it, and I'm a pretty technical, data-driven guy. Decades of gathering data, making decisions, making a plan, executing that plan.
Sure.
being driven totally by data, and it takes a lot for me to say this
Right.
kind of look like something. Alien is the best way I could describe it.
All right. So you're at least you wear your skepticals often.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's funny because we do get around people, you know, in this I don't even know what to call
Genre.
it, business, in this genre of people that I'm sure you've been on expeditions
Yep.
where I heard something in the campground last night and I'm sure it was a Bigfoot.
Yep.
Well, it's probably not a Bigfoot next to your tent next to 8 other people. It was probably a raccoon.
Right. And it actually gets a little bit irritating to hear
Yeah.
a lot
Correct.
of that, you know, time and time again.
It does, because there's not that many Bigfoot out there.
Yeah.
There's just not. So, can you believe we've actually been doing this for 55 minutes now?
Yeah. I mean, I had questions that I'm not going to get to.
Fire off one question, Russ.
Well, it takes a while. Brad, have you heard of CE5 sounds?
Yeah.
I know you guys have.
No,
That's why I was going to ask the question.
No.
CE5 sounds are sounds that people believe are associated with aliens. And so some people are broadcasting CE5 sounds in an attempt to
lure them in.
interact or lure, bait
Okay.
that in. And I was curious whether or not, you guys had dabbled with that.
We have actually.
What not? I don't know if we had it that time.
It was probably a couple years after this we did. We
Yeah.
had watched a YouTube video with Stephen Greer, and we actually downloaded his CE5 contact tool, and we actually have the new version on our
Yeah.
iPhone right now.
But at the time this happened, we hadn't.
Not at this point in time, no.
We hadn't
With
heard of it.
the shadow figure, but yeah, we've actually got 2 really good encounters. To me, the CE5 contact tool is fairly successful.
Interesting, yes.
Yeah.
Now, can you hear anything when you are broadcasting these sounds, or is it kind of quiet, or
The sounds are actually, they sound like, bebop, bebop. They're actually sounds like
You hear
satellite
'em.
sounds, but supposedly they're crop circle sounds that were recorded that are played at different frequencies. So the frequency varies, and of course it makes the sound different as it changes frequencies.
But yeah, we can hear it.
yeah,
so
you
that
can-
was my original belief, or what I had read somewhere, was that these were the sounds that were recorded around crop circles.
right.
And that's how initially that got started. So then people started trying to, reproduce those sounds.
Yep.
And is that true?
That's what we understand.
That's correct. That's
Okay.
understanding. And we actually have two incidents that there are other stories, but one's fairly intense.
I can tell you that, of course, Brad's an engineer and he gets interested in these things. And so he'll be, if he hasn't already been looking up CE5 sounds already, he will be tonight trying to figure out what the heck it
Yep.
is.
Yeah.
Right. So it happens.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know Russ is going to wither away to nothing if
Yes.
he doesn't eat every hour.
Yeah.
He's like a small child.
Yes.
He is like a small child. So
Yes. In many ways.
that, yeah. Anyway, that hour went very quickly, and that was fun because I didn't have to say a whole lot, which is good for me because we do get people on here that are rather boring, and then I have to talk a lot, and it's just not that fun.
Yeah. And
So-
you guys were not boring. You were very
No.
interesting. And
And I hope you took no offense to anything that I said.
No.
I'm sure that some of the listeners might have questions for you. Is there an email that you want the public to have, so that if someone had a question or wanted to reach out to you?
Or Facebook or something like that, maybe, or anything.
Or
If
you
not,
want to stay
it's
incognito?
fine if you do not want to contact anybody. That is completely fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd like to hold off right now.
Sure.
It's fine.
But
No, it's fine.
what I'm actually doing is I'm compiling basically a book right now. We've got 44 things that have happened, and some of them started since I was a child.
Okay.
Before we met, we've been married for almost 50 years now.
Yeah, 48.
Wow.
48 years.
Wow.
And so we're compiling a lot of
Congratulations.
stories, and yeah, I've seen when we get on the BFRO trips, we get together and we tell stories.
Yeah.
I like stories. I tell all
People
kinds of
get
stories.
really interesting.
Yeah.
We're interested in, Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So let's say this for the listeners. If you have a question, reach out to Brad or I, and we will reach out to Randy and Doreen or send them a message and ask them,
Yep.
what the question is, and we'll deal with it that way.
Yep, that'll
good.
work.
But we really do appreciate your guys' time. You were very interesting, and hopefully we'll get to see you sometime in the field.
Yep,
All right.
absolutely.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, Russ.
Well, I people are going to say this about us. I mean, regardless of what you and I believe, we are always open-minded and willing to listen to other people's.
Absolutely.
What they say.
Why not? Why
Yeah.
not?
And I think
believe it, whatever.
that he worked on supercomputers, and she's a CPA. They're obviously been very successful in their life. They're very bright,
Right.
and they have had a lifetime to form their opinions.
Yep.
And I think they're interesting.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I have
So,
something to tell you. I have something I
oh.
have to tell you, but I didn't tell you earlier.
Okay, tell me.
I have a new favorite exercise:
Okay,
the pull-up.
like assisted, or you just pulling them up?
Straight
How many
pull-up.
can you get now?
I can get 2 sets of 10.
Where you're all the way to
You
extend?
got to get all the way. I'm about here. I'm not going like full drop because I can't do that just yet.
Right, that's
But,
pretty impressive at your age.
I'm working on it, and it's fun, and it's my new favorite because I can do it. Because I used to not be able to do it. So
Seriously, you could not do it. Now
I could do assisted, but anybody can do assisted with it.
So did you just not realize that?
I just didn't realize I could do it. So I tried a while ago. Do what?
All at once, you're like, I should just try and see if I can do this again.
Right, I did. I could, because I used to try to do it, and I could do like 4, which is kind of embarrassing. But when I can do 10, and I can take a rest, and I can do 10 more, then I'm pretty impressed with that.
I think that's pretty freaking good, man.
And it's it's
I'm-
all
I
because
really
of you.
do.
It's
Well, I
all
don't know
because
about
of
all
you.
that, but I really am impressed.
I'm all because of you.
Hey,
Especially at my
people,
age.
if you would just hit that little thumb thing there and like that for us
Right.
and subscribe, we'd
Yep.
appreciate that.
Yep.
And the bigfootdoc.com,
Yep.
West Virginia Bigfoot on Facebook.
Wide
know,
Open
if
Research on
you-
Instagram. We try to post sometimes. I even shot some video at the expedition, and I'm sure I'm going to try to get some of the thermal video that I took from the expedition. I'm going to get it
That'd be
off
cool.
my SD card and throw it up on Instagram so people can see what we saw. So
Okay.
other than that, that's it. I think we're out of here, aren't we?
Yes. Thanks, everybody.
Later.